Today, we're remembering the one and only Claudia Cardinale, the sultry Italian cinema goddess whose magnetic presence and raw talent made her the dream girl of directors like Fellini, Visconti, and Leone. Her shocking passing on September 23, 2025, at age 87 has left fans worldwide in mourning, and we're here to celebrate her extraordinary legacy. We're covering it all, the details of her cause of death, her husband and lifelong loves, her age, family, net worth, lifestyle, and a full biography that takes you from her Tunisian childhood to the red carpets of Cannes and Hollywood. This is gonna be a long, heartfelt tribute packed with stories from her golden era, her iconic roles, and the woman who embodied passion on and off screen. Whether you're a fan of 8½, The Leopard, or her unforgettable spaghetti westerns, grab a glass of Chianti, get comfy, and let's honor the immortal Claudia Cardinale. Here we go. Let's start from the beginning with Claudia's biography, because her life was a cinematic epic, full of glamour, grit, and that unapologetic sensuality that defined Italian film in the 60s. Born Claude Josephine Rose Cardinale on April 15, 1938, in La Goulette, a seaside suburb of Tunis in French Tunisia, Claudia was the daughter of Sicilian immigrants Francesco Cardinale, a railroad engineer, and Yolanda Greco, whose family ran a small shipbuilding business back in Trapani. Growing up in a vibrant multicultural bubble, French, Italian, Arabic influences swirling around, Claudia was the eldest of 5, with sisters Blanche, who was just a year younger and her closest confidant, and 3 brothers who kept the house lively. Life in Tunis was sun-soaked and simple, summers on the beach, school at the French-run Saint Joseph de l'Apparition, where she was shy and bookish, dreaming of becoming a teacher. But at 16, everything changed when she entered a beauty contest for the most beautiful Italian girl in Tunis, organized by the Italian embassy. Claudia won, beating out hundreds, and the prize? A trip to the Venice Film Festival and a screen test with some Italian producers. She wasn't thrilled. "I wanted to study, not pose," she later said, but fate had other plans. Franco Cristaldi, a sharp-eyed producer from Rome, spotted her potential and signed her to a 7-year contract with Vides Cinematografica, whisking her off to Italy at 18 with promises of stardom. Claudia's early years in Rome were a whirlwind. She studied at the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, Italy's national film school, but Cristaldi kept a tight leash. He controlled her schedule, her image, and even her personal life, molding her into the exotic beauty the world would fall for. Her debut was a small role in Goha, 1958, a Tunisian French film, but it was 1960's Il Bell'Antonio, opposite Marcello Mastroianni, that put her on the map. Playing a seductive Sicilian bride, Claudia's husky voice and those smoldering eyes had audiences hooked. Mastroianni himself fell for her charm, but Claudia kept it professional. She was focused, chain-smoking her way through scenes and learning Italian on the fly. By 1961, she was in Luchino Visconti's Rocco and His Brothers, stealing scenes as the fiery Nadia opposite Alain Delon, then blowing up in The Leopard, 1963, as the alluring Angelica, opposite Burt Lancaster and Alain Delon again. That film, a sweeping epic of Sicilian aristocracy, made her an international sensation. She was the dream girl of Italian cinema, blending innocence with fire. Federico Fellini cast her as Claudia in 8½, 1963, his semi-autobiographical masterpiece, where she embodied the unattainable muse opposite Marcello Mastroianni's tormented director. It was magic. Her wide-eyed sensuality against Fellini's surreal chaos won her the hearts of critics and fans alike. The 60s were Claudia's golden decade. She lit up Sergio Leone's spaghetti western Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, as Jill McBain, the resilient widow who turns the tables on Henry Fonda's villain. That train station arrival scene, with Ennio Morricone's haunting score swelling, is pure cinema poetry. Speaking of Morricone, Claudia and the legendary composer shared a deep artistic bond. They collaborated on multiple films, with Ennio crafting scores that amplified her magnetic presence, like in The Battle of Algiers, 1966, and Fitzcarraldo, 1982. Their relationship was professional magic. Ennio once said Claudia's voice and eyes inspired melodies I couldn't shake. She crossed to Hollywood with The Pink Panther, 1963, as Princess Dalla opposite Peter Sellers' bumbling Clouseau, charming audiences with her wit and that signature husky laugh. David Niven quipped, "Claudia, along with spaghetti, You're Italy's Greatest Invention. Roles in Circus World. 1964, with John Wayne and the Professionals. 1966, with Burt Lancaster solidified her as a global star, but back in Italy, she shone in Mauro Bolognini's The Inheritance. 1976, and Damiano Damiani's Confessions of a Police Captain. 1971. By the 70s, her career shifted as she distanced from Cristaldi, starting a lifelong partnership with director Pasquale Squitieri, with whom she had a daughter, Claudia, in 1979. They collaborated on films like I Guapi, 1974, and Stupor Mundi, 1997, blending passion and art until Pasquale's death in 2017. Claudia's later years were eclectic: Fitzcarraldo, 1982, with Klaus Kinski, the French minister, 2011, and her final role in Rogue City, 2021, on Netflix. At 87, she was still a force, honored as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Women's Rights in 2000. Her life was a tapestry of 150-plus films, unyielding spirit, and that timeless beauty, a true icon. Now, let's get to the shocking cause of death that's left the film world reeling. Claudia Cardinale passed away on September 23, 2025, at the age of 87 in her home in Nemours, France, surrounded by her loved ones. Her agent, Laurent Savary, confirmed the news to AFP, but no specific cause was disclosed. Reports suggest it was due to prolonged illness, as Claudia had been battling health issues privately in recent years. Some sources hint at complications from age-related decline, but her family has requested privacy, so details remain scarce. This comes after a lifetime of resilience. Claudia once defied the Vatican by showing up to meet Pope Paul VI in a miniskirt in the 60s, and even in her 80s, she was still working, starring in the 2021 Netflix thriller Rogue City. Her death marks the end of an era for Italian cinema, with tributes pouring in from everyone. French President Emmanuel Macron called her an Italian and global star we'll carry in our hearts, and Italian Culture Minister Alessandro Giulli hailed her exceptional talent. Fans on X are devastated, posting clips from 8.5 with captions like, "Claudia's eyes could stop time, gone but eternal." It's a loss that feels too big, but her films ensure she'll never fade. Age? Claudia was 87 when she passed, born April 15, 1938. She was an Aries with that fiery, trailblazing spirit that defined her career. At 5 feet 6 inches with curves that turned heads and a husky voice that commanded screams, Claudia was the epitome of Mediterranean allure. Even in her later years, she stayed elegant, with silver-streaked hair and that signature red lip, attending events like the 2022 Berlin Film Festival. Turning 87 didn't dim her light. She was still advocating for women's rights as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. Fans on X remembered, 87 years of pure fire. Claudia was timeless. Husband? Claudia Cardinale was married once, but her love life was a tapestry of passion and independence. She tied the knot with Italian film producer Franco Cristaldi in 1966, after he discovered her at 18 and molded her career, signing her to a 7-year contract and basically owning her early stardom. Franco, 12 years her senior, was her mentor, manager, and husband. He controlled her schedule, her roles, and even kept most of her earnings from Hollywood loans. Their marriage was stormy. Claudia later called it a gilded cage, and they separated in the early 1970s amid her growing desire for freedom. The divorce was finalized in 1975, but Franco remained a father figure to her son Patrick, whom he adopted. After Franco, Claudia found her true lifelong love with Neapolitan director Pasquale Squitieri, starting in 1973 on the set of I Guapi. They never married but were together for over 40 years until Pasquale's death in 2017 from pancreatic cancer. Pasquale was her collaborator and soulmate, directing her in nearly a dozen films like Stupor Mundi, 1997, and Le Chiamorono, Briganti. 1999, he was fiery and right-wing, which sparked clashes, but Claudia defended him fiercely, saying, "Pasquale was my storm and my calm." Their bond was unconventional but unbreakable. They raised a daughter together and built a life in Rome and Paris. Claudia had no other husbands, embracing her independence till the end. Fans on X say, Claudia's loves were as epic as her roles. Franco the mentor, Pasquale the passion. Family? Claudia's family was her anchor, a blend of Sicilian fire and quiet strength. She had 2 children, son Patrick Cristaldi, born in 1958 when she was just 19 from a brief, abusive relationship with a French producer. Franco adopted him, raising him as Claudia's brother until he was older to protect her image. Patrick, now in his 60s, is a low-key filmmaker living in Paris, and Claudia often credited him with keeping her grounded. Her daughter, Claudia Squitieri, born in 1979 with Pasquale, is 46 in 2025 and followed her parents into the arts, editing a 2022 book about Claudia's career titled Claudia Cardinale Ennio and managing her business affairs. The 2 Claudias were thick as thieves, with the younger one saying, "Mom taught me to fight for what I love." Claudia grew up with 4 siblings in Tunis, sister Blanche, just a year younger and her lifelong confidant, and 3 brothers whose names stay private. Her parents, Francesco and Yolanda, were Sicilian immigrants who ran a shipbuilding business. Francesco died in 1983, and Yolanda passed in the 90s. Claudia's extended family included nieces and nephews in Sicily, and she stayed connected through annual trips to Trapani. Her faith was Catholic, influenced by her Sicilian roots, and she was a devoted grandmother to Patrick's and Claudia's kids, spoiling them with stories from the leopard sex. In her final years, family gatherings in Nemours were her joy, simple meals, film marathons, and laughs that echoed her on-screen charm. Fans on X shared, Claudia's family was her greatest role, love that lasted a lifetime. Net worth? At the time of her death in 2025, Claudia Cardinale's net worth was estimated at $10 million, a figure that reflects a career of selective, impactful roles rather than Hollywood excess. Her wealth came from a golden era of films. The Leopard, 1963, alone grossed millions, and her 8.5 role earned residuals for decades. Hollywood gigs like The Pink Panther, 1963, and The Professionals, 1966, paid handsomely for the time, with $100,000 fees that adjusted to millions today. Later, European art house work and UNESCO ambassadorships added steady income, plus book deals like her 2022 memoir Claudia Cardinale Ennio. Real estate was smart. She owned a chic Paris apartment in the 16th arrondissement worth $2 to $3 million and a Rome Pied Terra valued at $1.5 million. No flashy yachts or jets, Claudia lived elegantly but modestly, donating to women's rights causes through UNESCO. Fans on X noted, Claudia's $10 million was class, earned with beauty and brains. Wrapping this up, Claudia Cardinale, 87, left us on September 23, 2025, from prolonged illness, survived by son Patrick and daughter Claudia, with a $10 million legacy of cinematic fire. Her loves with Franco Cristaldi and Pasquale Squitieri were as passionate as her roles. Her biography, From Tunis Beauty Queen to Fellini Muse, is immortal. What's your favorite Claudia film, 8.5 or Once Upon a Time in the West? Drop it in the comments, like to celebrate her glow, and share with film lovers. Want more on icons like Sophia Loren? Let me know. Thanks for watching, keep the passion alive, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.